Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is David Holt, and today I want to talk to you about how drug addiction in America is affecting our youth and our economy, and how you can help stop America's issue. Britannica Concise Encyclopedia defines drug addiction as a physical and/or psychological dependency on a psychoactive substance. In 2012, the National Drug Intelligence Center found that the abuse of tobacco, alcohol, and illicit drugs cost our nation over $600 billion in relation to crime, job loss, productivity, and healthcare. Drug use and violence due to drugs are all around you and your family. It's in our schools, in our jobs, in our neighborhoods, in some form or fashion. Drugs have been in my life since I was about 10 years old. I grew up in a trailer park in Tennessee, and I watched my sister go from occasionally smoking marijuana with a few friends to several years later being addicted to heroin. Heroin made my sister lie and steal from my father and I. Luckily for her, though, she had a very strong support system and loving parents who allowed her to come into their home until she was cleaned up. I'm happy to report today that she is 6 years clean, has 4 children, a great job, and is living her life normally. Drug addiction can tear families apart, ruin job opportunities, and can pull you farther away from what God has to offer for you. Today we're going to talk about how children are being affected and surrounded by drugs in the schools, and how drugs in America are affecting the economy and costing taxpayers billions. Drugs in America are infiltrating our schools and our youth's lives more and more each year. The National Drug Intelligence Center did a trend analysis of what percentage of what drugs 8th, 10th, and 12th graders are using. I've chosen 2 types to show you what they found. If you look here, 13.4% of 8th graders have used illicit drugs. 30.1% of 10th graders have used illicit drugs, and 39.7% of 12th graders have used illicit drugs in just the past year. Also, 11.4% of 8th graders have used marijuana, 28% of 10th graders have used marijuana, and 36.4% of 12th graders, just in the past year, have used marijuana in America. As you can see by the numbers, the older they get, the more they're exposed to drugs, and the more they're apt to experiment with those drugs. As family and friends of these children, we have to get more involved in their lives, help them make smarter choices, so they don't blend into those types of crowds. Drugs in America are also killing our economy, and taxpayers are shelling out billions of dollars because of it. As I stated before, America has paid over $600 billion due to drug use. But here's a little more of a breakdown, just so you can see exactly what I'm talking about. In healthcare for tobacco alone, we spent over $96 billion just in healthcare, and overall $193 billion in relation to crime, lost job productivity, and healthcare. In illicit drug healthcare alone, we spent $11 billion as a country, with an overall bill of $193 billion in those same 3 categories. For alcohol abuse, just in healthcare alone, $30 billion, and an overall $235 billion for those same 3 categories of crime, job loss, productivity, and also healthcare. These numbers represent your money going to people who don't care about anybody else but themselves. Do you think they really care that your hard-earned money is going to their medical bills just because they decided that they weren't going to stop smoking and drinking every single day? Drugs in America can only be stopped when America as a whole says enough is enough. Only when America stops turning a blind eye to what's going on in our workplace, in our community, and in our schools can we start the recovery process. I think the recovery process starts when we allow God back into the world also. When God gets put back into our community, back into our schools, that's when morals and ethics replace those bad peer pressures. In summary, drugs in America are taking over our schools and destroying our economy. America has to stand up, take ownership, and say enough is enough, and that we are going to do something about the drug problem. Thank you very much, and have a great day.